Good day, everyone. Today, we will going to present the Weschler Adult Intelligence Scale, or also known as the WAIS or the WIS, which is an IQ test designed to measure the intelligence and cognitive ability in adults and older adolescents. This was originally published in February 1955 by David Weschler as a revision of the Weschler Bolivar Intelligence Scale released in 1939. Next is we're going to discuss further who is David Weschler.
So, for the author, the test was designed by psychologist David weschsler, who believed that intelligence was made up of a number of different mental abilities rather than a single general intelligence factor. Weschler was dissatisfied with what he believed were the limitations of the Stanford Binet intelligence test. Among his chief complaints about that test was the single score that emerged, its emphasis on time tasks, and the fact that the test had been designed specifically for children and was therefore invalid for adults. As a result, Wechsler devised a new test during the 1930s known as the Wechsler-Bellevue Intelligence Scale. The test was later revised and became known as the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale. Next,
Next is the purpose of Weschler Adult Intelligence Scale. Weschler Adult Intelligence Scale, 4th edition, the WIS-4 was developed to assess cognitive ability for adults. It is used as a general test for intelligence. These instruments aids in examining the relationship between intellectual and functional memory. A common purpose for the WIS or WAIS is for educational planning and placement with older adolescents and adults. So in addition, the test was designed by psychologist Weschler or David Weschler, who believed that the intelligence was made up a number of different mental abilities rather than a single general intelligence factor. So its purpose was because Weschler was dissatisfied with that. He believed the limitation of a Stanford Binet intelligence test among his chief complaints about that the test was a single score that emerged its emphasis on a timed task and the fact that the test had been designed specifically for children and was therefore invalid for adults. So as a result, he devised that um, a new test during 1930s, and the test was later revised became the Weschler Adult Intelligence Scale. So its main purpose is to assess cognitive ability for adults. Next is the number of items. The current version of the WIS or the WAIS was released in 2008 and includes 10 core subsets as well as 5 supplemental subsets. Additionally, the WIS-4 test provides 4 major scores.
Is Wechsler Adult Intelligence Test a timed or non-timed kind of test? For you to be able to administer the test, you must approximately complete the test within 60 to 90 minutes. This test includes 11 subtests with various types of format. Let's proceed to the age applicable. The Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale in the fourth edition is an individually administered norm referenced test designed to measure cognitive ability in individuals from age 16 years to 90 years and 11 months. It is the most frequently used measure of intelligence for adults and older adolescents. The WIS-4 is the industry standard test to measure adult intelligence.
Now let us proceed to the subtest or subscales of Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale. So this intelligence scale has is divided into four categories, namely the verbal comprehension index, the perceptual reasoning index, the working memory index, and the processing speed index. So under each of the categories, there are also areas to be discussed later. So let us first discuss the verbal comprehension index, and it includes and it includes four tests: similarities, vocabulary, information, and comprehension. So for the similarities, we have abstract verbal reasoning. So an example of this is that, in what way are an apple and a pear alike? So in this statement, we have to compare two fruits, which is an apple and a pear, but we can also compare other things like a pen or a pencil. So for the vocabulary, the degree to which one has learned, been able to comprehend, and verbally express vocabulary. So this is an easy question. What is a guitar? So basically, in this category, the student will be the test taker will be giving the test administrator will be giving a question which the test taker has to define a word, and for an example of this is a guitar. So let us proceed to the information. The degree of general information acquired from culture. So this is a general information or general question. An example of this is, who is the president of Russia? Next is for the comprehension. In other words, it is more on understanding. So ability to deal with abstract social conventions, rules, and expressions. So basically, going to we are going to have this in a situational statement. So an example of this: what does kill two birds with one stone metaphorically mean? So let us proceed now to the perceptual reasoning index, and it comprises five tests. Kindly kindly move the PowerPoint, please. So for the perceptual reasoning index, it comprises five tests, namely block design, matrix reasoning, visual puzzles, picture completion, and figure weights. So first, block design. It is a spatial perception, visual abstract processing, and problem solving. So in this kind of test, um, we are testing the test taker's spatial perception. So for the matrix reasoning, nonverbal abstract problem solving, inductive reasoning, and spatial reasoning. So it is more on problem solving and reasoning statements. So for the visual puzzles, nonverbal reasoning. Basically, it is a nonverbal reasoning because we are providing our test takers the pictures or the visual representation of something, and then they are going to um, formulate a statement about that particular visual representation. So next is the picture completion, ability to quickly perceive visual details. So in this test, we are we are going to present the test taker the several pictures, and then they are going to, for example, we are we will be giving them instruction to perceive the to perceive the pictures given, to perceive the pictures presented, and then they're going to complete that using a picture also. So lastly, figure weights, quantitative and analogical reasoning. So let us proceed now to the working memory index, and this is obtained from three tests. Okay, so namely these tests, these three tests are digit span, arithmetic, and letter number sequencing. So first is the digit span. It measures the attention, concentration, and mental control of our test taker. So basically, it tests the focus of our test taker, and an example of this is repeat the numbers 1 to 3 in reverse sequence. So we are testing their memory and we are testing their attention in this test. So next is the arithmetic, or otherwise known as mathematics. So concentration while manipulating mental mathematical problems. So an example of this is, how many 45-cent stamps can you buy for $1? So you are testing the test taker's arithmetic um, arithmetic aspect of his or her mind. So the last one is the letter number sequencing. So in this kind of test, attention and working memory is being tested. So for example, repeat the sequence Q1 B3 J2, but place the numbers in numerical order and then the letters in alphabetical order. So instruction is given here, and the test taker will going to follow the instruction, and we are testing his or her attention and working memory in this kind of test. So last category of this subtest, the processing speed index, and it includes three tests. The PowerPoint, please. So under this subtest, we have three: symbol search, coding, and cancellation. So for the symbol search, we have visual perception and speed. So from the word itself, symbol, the test seeker will going to find a specific thing or a symbol that represents a a certain thing. Next is coding, visual motor coordination, motor and mental speed. And lastly, cancellation, visual perceptual speed. In this kind of test, in the cancellation, the test taker is given several numbers or several letters depending on the test administrator, or depending on the test, on the certain test, and then the instruction will be stated that cancel all or cross out all the letter B or all the letter one, I mean all the number one in the box, and then the test taker will going to follow the instruction. So let us proceed now to the latest revision. So the weschsler Adult Intelligence Scale, the current version of the test, the WISE 4, or the weschsler and Adult Intelligence Scale, the fourth edition, which was released in 2008, and it is composed of 10 core subtests and 5 supplemental subjects, with a 10 core subtest comprising the full scale IQ. With the new WISE 4, the verbal or performance subscales from previous versions were removed and replaced by the index scores. The General Ability Index, or the GAI, was included, which consists of the similarities, vocabulary, and information subtest from the Verbal Comprehension Index and the block design, matrix reasoning, and visual puzzles subtest from the Perceptual Reasoning Index. The GAI is clinically useful because it can be used as a measure of cognitive abilities that are less vulnerable to impairment. Specifically, the latest versions are the WPPSI 4th edition for preschool and primary grade children, the WISC, the 5th edition for elementary and high school children, and the WAIS, the 4th edition for adolescents, adults, and elders. So that's all for the latest revision.
Okay, let's proceed to the psychometric soundness. The Weschsler Adult Intelligence is a well-established scale, and it has fairly high consistency. Over a 2 to 12 week time period, The test retest reli- reliabilities range from 0.70 or 7 subscales to 0.90 or 2 subscales. Interscorer coefficients were very high, all being above 0.90. According to the test manual, the instrument targets three, and this involves psychoeducational disability, neuropsychiatric and organic dysfunction, and giftedness. The WISE correlated highly with the Stanford Binet fourth edition test for 0.88 and had high concordance with various measures. And this includes memory, language, dexterity, motor speed, attention, and cognitive ability.
So for the recap, WAIS, or also known as the Weschler Adult Intelligence Scale, it was again introduced in 1955, and it is developed to address weakness in Stanford Binet. So it is created to be used with adults. It contains some time subsets, subtests, provides a number of different scores. So again, one benefit of this approach is that the pattern scores can also provide useful information. For example, again, scoring high in certain areas but low in others might what we call indicate the presence of a specific learning disability. And the Y-score also provide a what we call two overall summary scores, including a whole scale, IQ, and general ability index. So the YS surpassed the Stanford Binet in the during 1960s today, and again, it is the most frequent intelligence test in the world with both adolescents and adults. Again, the data collection for the newest version of the test, or WISE-4, is progressing through a spring. So, in conclusion, although there are many different reasons why the WISE might be used, it's sometimes used by the neuropsychologists and rehabilitation psychologists in people who have been injured. They are able to utilize the test to see what areas of brain have been affected as well as to determine the cognitive function. So that's all about the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale. Thank you. And these are the references.